When the unseemingly Covid-19 virus began in Wuhan, China since December 2019, the virus was spread all across the globe in a matter of months. Governments immediately ordered shutdowns and closed all borders to curb the infection, including the closure of schools. In this case study, we shall attempt to understand better the challenges faced in focusing the issues in accessing education, especially during school closures. This is to analyse the situation better and the shortcomings of whether the government has an existing policy to address the problems of how the students follow school lessons from home. This study will also look at the issues of how underprivileged school children living in the Lembah Subang low-cost flats who face many challenges in the midst of the ravaging COVID-19 pandemic. In this video, I will discuss the efforts made by the government through the Ministry of Education in collaboration with other ministries in their programs and policies to address the problems faced by the children. How did they collaborate and devise what is best for the students and teachers to move forward? Throughout the year 2020, what were among the first initial steps taken by the government on the background of a large digital divide between urban and rural, the have and the have-nots? The term children of the lost year have been coined by many in the mainstream media and lawmakers, highlighting the plight of the school-going children being away from schools, while many other children from poor families or in some unprepared countries were cut off from their access to education. As I attempt to understand this issue better, I spoke to the former Education Minister and Simpang Renggam Member of Parliament, Dr. Mazli Malik, as well as Petaling Jaya MP Maria Chin Abdullah to share their views and suggestions in addressing this issue. Looking forward, analysing the existing policies and initiatives made by the government, we will be looking at the success stories from countries which have effectively addressed similar challenges in online education for students in the midst of the pandemic, making the best out of the situation for the benefit of the children of the lost year. According to the UNESCO, as many as 1.5 billion children were affected in April due to the closure of schools in 166 countries, which initiated immediate action to break the chain of infection. UNICEF also reported that about 463 million students were unable to access remote learning. When the Malaysian government first implemented the nationwide lockdown on March 18, 2020, it was an initial 2-week order. The Minister of Education, Dr. Rajidin, announced that schools were allowed to open in stages starting June 26 last year. Throughout the year, students from both primary and secondary only had initial 49 days of classes from January until March. The government announced another closure of all schools on November 9, 2020 and postponement of SPM and STPM examinations to March 2021. All in all, students in Malaysia attended only 63.8% or 123 days of face-to-face lessons in school. In April 2020, the Education Ministry revealed that 36.9% of students nationwide do not possess any electronic devices. In the last parliamentary sitting, the Education Minister reported that the dropout rate for secondary school students increased to 1.26% in 2020 during the pandemic from 1.14% in 2019. The primary level saw a slight increase to 0.13% in the same year from 0.12%. The Lembah Subang 1 low-cost flats project began in 2000 by the federal government, and after the completion of the project, the flats were handed over to the Selangor state government. The 20-year-old low-cost flats are riddled with many issues related to poverty, drugs, domestic violence, cleanliness, and amenities such as lifts, parking, refuse area, to name a few. It is now more commonly associated as a ghetto in the urban city of Petaling Jaya. The low-cost flats consist of 3,004 units of 8 blocks located in Arada Mansara, Petaling Jaya. There are about 15,000 residents staying in the rented units ranging between 124 ringgit to 360 ringgit a month, with many of them unable to pay the rents for months. Nestled right in the middle of an affluent, rich blocks of new development condominium projects, one would easily miss the very existence of poor people living in the midst of a busy development in the city. Without affordability of many low-income families to buy necessary devices for school children and provide internet connection at homes, these children will not be able to follow online lessons from schools, bringing a much wider digital divide between urban and rural, the rich and the poor.
PKP ni saya tengok banyak yang mereka terbiar lah. Diorang tak belajar. Saya rasa kemudahan macam komputer pun tak ada kan. Jadi saya tak tahu macam mana diorang belajar. kebanyakannya itulah jalan ke sana kemari. Mak bapak kerja lagilah susah. Kita tak tahu macam mana kan. Nampaknya terdiam macam tu je lah.
Keadaan internet memang tak ada kan?
Memang setakat telefon biasa boleh lah untuk, saya rasa untuk diorang nak belajar tu tak.
Memang tak semua rumah ada internet dan
Tak
televisyen
semua,
kan?
Tak semua rumah.
Tapi keadaan sekarang kalau dilihat sekolah, banyak yang sekolah menengah memang tak pergi sekolah.
Memang tak. Dah tak pergi sekolah. Tapi saya tengok ada juga budak-budak yang tak bersekolah ni, pergaulan diorang lah kena jaga sikit.
So apa yang budak-budak sekarang dia buat sekarang masa tak pergi sekolah, tak ikut persekolahan, apa dia buat sekarang?
Yang saya nampak banyak ni dia lepak je. Ada juga yang kerja sambilan, tapi kebanyakannya duduk lepak. Tak ada kerja. Lagipun nak minta kerja orang susah. Tak ada kerja kan. Jadi diorang duduk sana sini merayau lah.
Ni darjah berapa?
5.
Darjah 5. Tahun lalu masa darjah 4. Masa tahun lalu belajar macam mana? Online? Ada tengok buku tak? Online. Suka tak? Susah tak kalau belajar online?
Susah.
Internet macam mana? Jalan ke tak jalan?
Jalan. Ada sikit lag.
Ada sikit lag Ada cikgu ada suruh tengok TV untuk belajar tak? Tak. Online je.
I think that the policy set up by the present government is unclear. There's no prioritizing on particularly the schools and the universities. The government has actually announced in the recent budget that they will cover 500 schools, offer them computers, but that one thing it hasn't rolled out yet. Okay, so when are they going to give these tablets or computers to the students? Doesn't seem to be a timeline, and that is worrying because now suddenly the Prime Minister has announced darurat, and it's going to extend to August, which means that a lot of the primary and secondary students have not been to classes for almost 1.5 years. And you don't offer them an alternative to encourage them to continue their interest in learning. One is actually this tablet. The other one is, of course, making sure that the tutors are there to coach them. But the not having the equipment and not rolling out, it's going to impair on a lot of students. Then if you look at Malaysia, we have more than 10,000 schools. The budget is not even covering these 10,000 schools. 10,000 schools, you are talking about 4.77 million students, primary and secondary. Let's not talk about the university students. 4.7 million students needs to be covered if you want them to go continue studying online. If you don't, it will be like what I'm experiencing now in Lembah Subang 1. A lot of them dropped out, lose interest studying. They lepak, they are getting into all kinds of unwanted activities. They just don't want to study anymore. Even if the schools were to open, they are not keen to go back. So what is the policy? I think that the policy priority has to ensure all students be equipped with a laptop or a tablet, whatever is the cost. And to actually ensure that there are enough teachers. If you don't have enough teachers, then recruit some of these undergraduates to actually help in the tutoring. Otherwise, we are actually, like what you say, having a lost generation that will take another 10 years to recover.
Like I mentioned in the parliament, to the media many times, that we need to have our own Majlis Tindakan Pendidikan Kebangsaan, akin to Majlis Tindakan Ekonomi Kebangsaan, in which we get all the best brains there from government, opposition, from private sectors, educators, experts, the intellect, to contribute in formulating what is the best plan, what is the best measurement to be taken in the post-pandemic period. Because we are going to have a situation in which we're going to depart from these new norms, and definitely we're not going back to the old norms. We're going to the new norms. But how that new norms is going to be, and how to recover the lost learnings of those lost generation that we had. I cannot give a silver bullet answer to that. I may have my own opinion, but again, I think it's better to get other opinions as well. And as we know, when we talk about education, it has many stakeholders, and everybody has their own concerns about education. So better for us to have that kind of council or Majlis Tindakan Pendidikan Kebangsaan to get the best brains, to get the best experts in the matter, and we engage as much as possible with the stakeholders. We have the NUTP, we have all this PIBG and NGOs. I mean, we need to tap their brains. And, when it comes to education, it should not be politicized. It should go beyond politics. And it's everybody's concerns. It's the future of our nation. It's the future of our country. And we all should be worried about that. This is where I think KPM should never work alone, should never work in silo, and should engage and embrace everybody to work together to plan for the best for our country. There should be a master plan for that.
In view of the situation, the ministry initiated the use of the existing online learning platform known as Digital Educational Learning Initiative Malaysia, DELIMA, a collaboration with Google, Microsoft and Apple. Apart from that, they have also set up an online database of all teaching materials, including digital textbooks. Earlier in 2020, the Education Ministry began promoting the use of online platforms and sharing the best practices from teachers in a video format to be uploaded on YouTube. The ministry launched CikguTube to facilitate learning and teaching in school. The team of 500 teachers were recruited as part of the program. Another initiative in collaboration with the Ministry of Communications and Multimedia under Kelas at Rumah as part of the effort to address students who are unable to follow school lessons. Education programs on TV OK channel under RTM that were shown twice daily on weekdays and 1 hour slot in the morning and afternoon respectively. In a public-private partnership, the ministry collaborated with Media Prima and Astro to air school lessons on Astro Tutor TV and NTV7. Addressing this particular issue, television and radio should be the main platforms as part of solutions. According to UNICEF, more than 90% of countries in Europe, Central Asia and South Asia deliver education programs through TV channels. The distance learning program at Sekolah Ba-Umar or Schools Goes Home in Timor-Leste provides students to continue learning through TV, radio and online platforms. In Somalia, offline recorded lessons are being uploaded onto solar-powered tablets and made available to students. These video lessons are also shared through social media channels such as WhatsApp, Facebook and broadcast through the radio and TV. The same in Bangladesh, where the government and UNICEF support primary and secondary students using televised recorded lessons. In Singapore, when students were forced to stay home for home-based learning due to the lockdown during the circuit breaker, the government quickly provided 12,500 tablets and laptops to be loaned to students. The government also provided schemes for low-income group families to apply for laptop subsidies and free broadband internet. Situation in Indonesia in the midst of the outbreak is far more challenging than appears in Southeast Asia. Indonesia has only 40% internet penetration in households, and the government decided to launch a national TV station specifically to air educational programs. The Indonesian Education Ministry has also simplified the curriculum, focusing on essential skills in reading, writing and numeracy, giving teachers the time to adapt to online lessons. Schools are also given freedom to spend their national budget allocated on devices, and mobile data for students are also subsidized by the government. The government should also consider providing subsidized internet access to all students or free internet access with devices to students from B40 low-income groups to enable them to access online education. Using a two-pronged strategy, the ministry can also utilize existing videos created by selected teachers which have been uploaded on YouTube into DVDs or tablets to provide access to students who live in remote areas. The offline school kits can be used together with DVD video lessons as well as notes or books with portable DVD players. The COVID-19 pandemic is here to stay, and it will remain as a threat not just in health, but also children's access to education. As governments around the world remain vigilant, Malaysia must also face the fact that there will be a possibility that schools will have to be closed again should there be another wave of infections in the country.